For us, for the first time this calendar year, to go to the Farm Bureau phone line. Check out favorites.com and go with the home team, Mississippi Farm Bureau. Our good buddy, Scott Berry, head baseball coach at the University of Southern Mississippi. I don't know what the thermometer read around lunchtime today in Hattiesburg. I know in my truck it was 21, and that kind of felt balmy given what we had yesterday. Coach, you guys practiced today? Is that accurate?
We did. Because we're so much farther south than you, we were actually 10 degrees warmer when I just left the field about 5 minutes ago at 31. But, you know, the tell-all is what it feels like, and it was 23 is what it said. So that's what it felt like. Yeah, you know, it looks like rain or whatever is coming tomorrow. I really don't know what it's going to be, but it may be a chance where this may be the only time we get on the field until we play on Friday. So we had to take advantage of it, even though it was pretty cold.
Yeah, given what the weather's like, were your guys reasonably happy to be outside? I mean, I know it's cold, but you're so close to the start of the season. Any opportunity to get on the field is a good one. Is that how they approached it?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, especially coming off from a shortened year last year and almost 11 months since we've really played a game against another opponent. So everybody's excited about it. And cold weather or not, you know, years prior to this, before we had the synthetic grass that we installed last year, we probably wouldn't have been on our field much this spring. But because of that investment, and, you know, we haven't missed a day.
I saw some pictures from a couple of days ago, and obviously it's been a while now since the turf has been installed. It was good to go for the beginning of last season. It looks spectacular, and I guess maybe the biggest benefit is what you were just talking about. You really, I mean, unless it's raining or there's a thunderstorm, there really aren't any days where you're shut down, are there?
No, there really isn't, Richard. And that's the beauty of it. I mean, there's a lot of advantages, obviously, that you have with synthetic grass. But you know, the biggest thing is that your development, your kids, it's not interrupted by weather. You know, where you're forced to go indoors, you're forced to go in the cages. You can't get on the field. You pull the tarp. Now the outfield's wet. I mean, literally, it could rain 4 inches, and in 20 minutes you can be out there practicing or playing.
When was your first year as a head coach at Meridian?
The year would be the fall of 96, spring of 97.
Okay. So if in the spring of 1997, I'd ask you if you would have been an advocate for a full turf field, I'm going out on a limb here and saying you'd have been like, no, man, baseball's meant to be played on grass and dirt. Is that accurate?
Yes, I would have probably declined the opportunity to put synthetic grass down at that time. I enjoyed working on fields and enjoyed our players helping me and everything that you get from and the rewards of a natural grass. But given time, certainly as I've gotten older, I want things more easy and I don't want them more complicated and that's what synthetic grass does. I mean, it makes it very easy and like I said, with our program, you know, development is huge with every program. It's that way, but you know, we just can't afford to miss those days because just like your own life, when you miss that day, you're not getting it back, and it's the same way in athletics. When you miss that opportunity to be on that field and take those reps like you need to, that a game's going to be played. You know, there's no substitute for that. You can hit in the cages all you want, but if you can get on the field, that's the best.
Yeah. Scott Berry visiting with us, head baseball coach at Southern Miss. So let's rewind a bit to Tuesday, March the 10th. You're coming off a win in Montgomery, Alabama. You beat Troy 9-7. You've got a weekend series at home coming in against FIU. And then obviously you said a second ago it's been almost 11 months since your team has played a game. Take us back to when it all came to an end last year and what these last 11 months have been in trying to get back to this point where you can play again.
Well, you know, we had just finished that game against Troy over at Montgomery at Biscuits Park, and a big win for us on the road, came from behind there, and we had a lot of momentum going into opening weekend of conference. And, man, I remember it was about 12:15 in the morning, and we were coming back. I was enjoying my pizza after a win, and then somebody said that FAU had just gotten earlier that day that the teams had been pulled off the field, and the team they were playing were told to go back home, to get home. And the next thing you know, man, it all just unraveled from there. And FIU was supposed to be coming in on Thursday. So on Thursday, they're headed to the airport to fly up here. They were called by their administration and said, don't get on that plane, turn around. And, we held on to hope that maybe that we would get going the next week. But then the NCAA, they made the call that there wouldn't be any championships played for the year 2020. And so everybody's like, well, maybe we can just play a conference tournament, play the rest of the season. So we were still holding on hope until I don't know exactly what the date was, but I remember informing our guys. It was after spring break because we sent them home for spring break, and just calling them and saying, "Hey, it's over. Your classes are online from here on out. Concentrate on that 100%, and control what you can control." And it was certainly something that all of us will remember from forever.
You said something in there that could easily just be bypassed, but you said you sent your guys home from spring break or for spring break. And if you're a baseball guy, really from the time that you're, playing junior varsity in ninth grade all the way through the time to where you hang up the cleats and you're never playing anymore, there's no such thing as spring break. In high school, you would play in a tournament and everybody else might be going to the beach. You were playing baseball. Certainly that was the case in college. That's crazy, though, when you think about guys go home from spring break and we'll figure it out after that.
Well, and you're right. I can remember saying to my wife, I don't remember the last time that I had a spring break. Every spring break's working. You're playing. As a player, you were playing. As a coach, you're coaching. And to be all of a sudden just have a spring break and basically be quarantined where you can't go anywhere was certainly another thing. But you're right. It was an eye opener for everybody in college athletics, especially baseball.
Scott, it's interesting to me because the baseball is played at such a high level in this state. We sometimes tie all three Mississippi State, Ole Miss, and Southern Miss programs together, and I can't help but think about how similar the experience was for you that it was for Chris Lemonis and it was for Mike Bianco. Ole Miss had just finished a midweek road trip at, I think, ULM. Mississippi State had just finished 2 midweek games down in Biloxi against Texas Tech. And both Mike and Chris have said to us in the past as well that it was kind of the same experience. They got on the bus. They're feeling really good about their team going into conference play. And then, boom, it all just comes to a screeching halt.
Yeah, and I can remember all those accounts that you were talking about. I remember like they were yesterday with 2 big wins for State against a good Texas Tech team. Nationally ranked. Yeah. Come in there, and everybody had momentum. We had momentum. State had momentum. Ole Miss had momentum. And then all of a sudden, man, it just pulled away from you. So,
was there a mental piece that you had to deal with your guys, and not only the season coming to a screeching halt, but for a lot of them, and I know some guys played summer ball, but it was different. You didn't have the Cape, and you didn't have nearly as many summer league opportunities. So was there kind of a mental health piece that you had to address with some of your players?
Well, there for the longest time, of course, I was introduced to Zoom calls. That I had never experienced one of those before. And
are you now a pro on Zoom?
Well, I know how to launch on or join, but I don't know how to put one together. That's why I've got great assistants that can do that for me. But we would have 2 team Zooms and just kind of talk it out, and those were good times. Other than we weren't together. We were over the computer, but. As we moved into the summer, there were several of our players that were able to play in some of these leagues. And, Mississippi, I think they had 5 different college leagues in this state where nobody else had any leagues. So we were very fortunate, which once again, we talk all the time, Richard, you and I on this show about how strong baseball is in the state of Mississippi, all the way from the little leagues on up to college. And, that was shown last year in the summer league programs. You had 5 leagues in the state of Mississippi where everybody else from the country were coming to play. So, we kind of took the lead on that and helped our guys to continue to play those that could.
We are going to continue our conversation with Scott Berry. When we come back, we will pivot to this year's team, to expectations, to preseason all-conference players, to a coaching staff that looks a little bit different. A lot to get to as we continue our conversation with our good friend Scott Berry, head baseball coach at Southern Miss. This is Sports Talk Mississippi, streaming online at supertalk.fm. We'll take a short break. All right, let's jump right back in. We got a lot of ground to cover with Scott Berry, head baseball coach at Southern Miss. And, Coach, let's start with your staff because a little bit of a change a little bit late. Obviously, Travis Creel joined you last year, but that was an abbreviated season. Nick Ammirati, former player at Mississippi State, now is part of your staff as an assistant coach. And I guess Coach Ostrander, who's, 4 or 5 seasons in now, he's like the old man in the group. He's the veteran that knows all the ins and outs.
He is. I'm really blessed and fortunate to have great people around me, and that's what we try to do: surround yourself with great ones. And I feel like that we have. Coach Ostrander's been with us now. I think this is going on his 5th year. Travis Creel, who's one of our players from the past, was on the World Series team back in 2009. Well invested in our program, both as a player and now as a coach. We're happy to have him back. And then Nick Ammirati, who came in here right at January in place of Ladd Rhodes, who was our assistant, who moved on to Charleston Southern over in South Carolina. So that opened the door for me to go find another quality individual, and certainly I found that in Nick Ammirati.
How difficult is that? Not so much in terms of timing. I know January is kind of a strange time to be making a replacement, but to be able to hire guys that fit with what you want to do, that understand the way you want to run the program, and you get the chemistry just right. How difficult is that process?
Well, you rely on people that know people and kind of know yourself. And I think that's exactly what happened. Nick had worked for several people that I had worked with. Lane Burris was one of them. Also, Bobby Barbier, who's over at Northwestern State. Nick had worked for him. Of course, I remember when Nick caught for State. He was a very good catcher back there. Really ran the show for them on the team that finished runner-up in the College World Series to UCLA. So I knew baseball side was there as the player. But, then having Sam Temple at Hines endorse him, who he was Sam's assistant, pretty much solidified the deal. But very happy with Nick. And you're right. I mean, it's one of those things. You want to bring in the person that fits what you want conveyed in your guys as leaders, role models. So, you got to check several different boxes. It's not just get a baseball guy, because sometimes that's not a good thing.
Scott Berry on your radio, joining us on the Farm Bureau phone line. Let's talk about expectations. Probably nobody has higher expectations for the program than you do, but outside the program, you're picked to win the Western Division of Conference USA this year. FAU picked to win over on the East side of things. What does that say about not just where this team is, but where the program is when you've got the other coaches and you've got media folks saying, yeah, this is going to be a really good baseball team?
Well, certainly it puts a target on your back right out the gate, and that's one that we've had for a few years now, but one that we don't shy away from, Richard. I mean, that's what we want. I feel like that 11 other teams in our conference would want that same target on their back. If they don't, then they're in the wrong business, and that's what we have to do. We have to defend that. Right now, we're still the Conference USA champion from 2019 because there wasn't anything played last year for a championship. So, we have to go out. The same things that we discussed last year in 2020, we're discussing right now and defending that title, knowing that everybody's coming after us. And we've made a name for ourselves, and it's not this team that's made the name, it's the teams prior to them. And it's up to us, and we're accountable to keep that tradition going and keep that consistency in this program.
Coach, D1 Baseball released its top 150 pitchers in college baseball today. Gabe Shepard, they had him ranked at number 66, and then you had Hunter Stanley at number 80 and Walker Powell at number 81. We're talking about all the Division I pitchers in the entire country. You may think those guys should actually be higher than they're actually ranked, but to have 3 top 100, top 80 guys on your staff, It's got to make you feel pretty good about that particular part of your ball club.
Well, it does, and that's news to me. I had not heard that news that you just told me about. But, guys that I feel like are well-deserving, they work hard every day out there. They're great teammates. They're highly confident individuals. When they take that mound, they have that presence that you want that's listed as that top 100. So, certainly good for them and good for us.
Offensively, we kind of know what your DNA is. We know what your approach is. What do you see from this team in particular offensively, and maybe a name or two that we should be looking out for that perhaps we don't know at this point?
Well, offensively, what we're going to have to do, I feel like, to be successful is we're going to have to put the ball in play. I don't know how much power we're going to have this year. I think that's still remains to be seen. But coming off the fall, I've challenged our guys. I thought we struck out too much, and when you're playing yourself, Richard, sometimes you can't get caught up in the pitchers over the hitters over the pitchers. What you do is you look at how each person competes, how the pitchers compete on the mound, how the position players compete at the plate. Those are the things that you have to evaluate. And, I feel like our guys, we're going to have to put the ball in play more. I thought that we struck out too much this fall, and the challenge has been made. And so far this spring, they've done pretty well against our guys. So we're going to have to, manipulate the baseball a little bit, probably hit and run a little bit more than what we've been in the past. We've had some guys that have left the yard for us, and I don't know how much that's going to happen this year. But I hope it does. But, we're just going to have to continue to have great at-bats, and that's what we try to instill our guys each time they go there to really understand what it takes to have a great at-bat. Some guys that I feel very good about, one is a new guy, Christopher Sargent. He's a junior college transfer. He's our first baseman. He can also catch, but we'll hit in the middle of the order. He's got right-handed power, a guy that's a tough out. I really, really like him. Of course, we returned Gabe Montenegro, who's been with us for like 15 years, I think, and still has another one after this one. So
that's right.
But he's our table setter. He's a guy that leads off for us. He won that 3 years ago and continues to hold that down. Reed Trimble, Northwest Rankin product, really, really high ceiling with him. A lot of ability, fast guy. Center fielder. He's going to probably hit in the 2-hole as a switch hitter. So I'm really looking for him to do some exciting things. And then another newcomer, Slade Wilkes, true freshman from Columbia, Mississippi, down there at Columbia Academy. A lot of upside with that young man. Big, strong country kid, hits from the left side, lots of power. Continued to develop through the fall, really understood by the end his strike zone and how to handle his at-bats.
That's a good baseball name, too. Slade Wilkes. That sounds like a guy that can hit a little bit.
Yes, sir.
for whatever that's worth. Hey, I'm curious. There's part of being a baseball coach, especially when you've been at a place for a while, like you have in Hattiesburg, that's a little monotonous. I mean, you know the calendar and kind of what it's going to be year after year. You're going to have 4 weeks of non-conference games, and you're going to play your conference slate, and then the tournament, and then you hope you've been good enough to get into postseason, and then your guys go off to summer ball, and then you do it all over again starting with fall ball. But with what you said, where the makeup of your team is a little bit different this year, is that the part that is fun and maybe challenging, is for you to have to figure out maybe what the DNA of a team is and how you're going to be able to win with the group you've got? Is that what maybe keeps it from being monotonous?
Yes, and I think the biggest challenge today every coach has is trying to develop that chemistry within their team. That is the number one variable to me and how successful your team's going to be. How do they respond to one another? How do they complement one another? How do they compete against one another, encourage one another, accept one another's roles, and be ready for when that role changes to step in there and deliver? And, that to me has become a big challenge with coaching today. Now, the other part, what we do on the field, obviously we put people in different positions so that we can try to get the pieces together that are going to help us win. And that's what we've been doing all fall, putting guys at different positions, putting pitchers in different situations, inheriting runners, coming in out of the pen, but maybe playing matchup. But those are all things that are tests for us to evaluate to see how we're going to utilize them this spring. So, I don't think it ever just gets boring, because every day is a new day and what you learn, and especially when you talk about development. With development, kids change. So then your views and how those roles, they also change.
Yeah. Scheduled to play on Friday at 4:00 against Northwestern State. Any thoughts on whether or not that game gets moved up a little bit just because of the temperatures, or wait and see?
I'll be honest with you. I'm not looking at moving it up. I'm worried about them being able to get up here for Friday, in all honesty. So we're going to check. They've got 6 inches on the ground right now. Everything's closed down over there. They're supposed to have ice tomorrow. Coach Barbier and myself have been talking, and nothing's been set in stone, but there's a possibility we might have to play a doubleheader on Saturday because they might not be able to get up here. And so we're just hoping for the best, that we can get it in this weekend, and we're just kind of taking it day by day, in all honesty. But right now we're slated for 4:00 on Friday, unless something needs to be adjusted.
Scott, you're the best. Thanks so much for your time.
Always a pleasure.